Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm giving you my initial review of the Nikon Z6. And in fact, I'm filming this whole video on the Z6 right now. So basically, I've used the Z6 for a month now. I've been really impressed so far, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts with you on how the photo and video side of the Z6 has started to help me in my workflow. So that's how this video is going to be separated. I'm going to start with all the photo aspects of it, what I like, and then of course I'm going to move on to the video aspects of it. So let's get right into this review with the photo aspects of the Nikon Z6. Now, as many of you know, the Nikon Z6 has had a lot of mixed reviews when it comes to its autofocus. Some say it's really good, while others say it's really not great, and then there's all kinds of in-between opinions as well. My opinion is it's actually really good, and I've actually been really impressed with how it's performed so far. I shot this thing in all kinds of different lighting situations, low light, good light, you know, all kinds of lighting situations, had no problem. And in fact, I would say that the hit rate for it was about 95%, which is incredible, especially considering that people have said that they didn't get very good results with this camera. Now, I will mention that even shooting with 1.4 lenses and 2.8 lenses, I really had no problems, and that's primarily what I shoot at anyway when I get these faster lenses. So I've really been pleased with the Nikon Z6's performance when it comes to autofocus. Now, one of my favorite things about the Nikon Z6 is its ergonomic handling. Now, I really like the ergonomics of the Nikon Z6. Comparing it to the A7 III, this has a deeper grip, and in my opinion, it's more comfortable in the hand. In fact, even talking to some A7 III owners who have held the Nikon Z6, they agree that they like the Z6 in terms of ergonomics a little bit more than the Sony A7 III. Now, that does not mean that the Sony A7 III has inherently bad ergonomics. It just means that the Nikon subjectively for those individuals just feels better, and I tend to agree with that. There are kind of a few funky places for certain buttons, like the magnification buttons. I think could have been placed better than they are, but for what it's worth, it does really have a nice hand feel. So Nikon gets a thumbs up for ergonomics. Now, one of the things I consider when purchasing a camera is its low light performance, exclusively speaking about high ISO performance. And really, I've got to be honest, the Nikon Z6 does very well in low light situations. I shot between 100 ISO to 20,000 ISO and surprisingly got decently clean, you know, as clean as 20,000 ISO can be, files. Now, I did do a little bit of noise reduction in Lightroom, but I've got to be completely honest with you, the low light performance of the Nikon Z6 is very impressive, and I would say it's on par with the Sony A7 III. Now, one of my favorite things about mirrorless cameras is that they have EVFs, which are practically little screens inside of the viewfinder, and in this Nikon it has Nikkor glass in front of it, so it makes it a really clear EVF to look through. Now, one great thing about EVFs is that I can actually review my photos inside of the viewfinder. It makes it so much easier to check for critical sharpness and all of those things you need to check when you are using cameras. So I love the EVF in the Nikon Z6. The silent shutter on the Nikon Z6 has been very fun to use, but as I said in my Z7 review, it all depends on your lighting situation, whether you can use it without getting any form of banding in your images. Well, I use this, for example, in Houston, Texas, and taking some pictures, I use silent shutter in pretty consistent lighting situations, and honestly, it worked really well. As you can see through these images I'm throwing up, there is no banding at all. So I'm actually really pleased with the silent shutter performance of the Nikon Z6. But like I said, do keep in mind it all depends on your lighting situation. So I really have enjoyed shooting with the Nikon Z6 so far, but if any of you have watched any of my other videos about the Nikon Z cameras, you'll realize I primarily bought the Z6 for its video capabilities. So let's get right into the next part of this review concerning the video aspects of the Nikon Z6. Now, what really intrigued me about the Nikon Z6 was the new autofocus system in this camera, and that's primarily one of the biggest reasons why I went with this. Now, I want to stay in the Nikon system, and I've got to say, so far using the autofocus mode, the AFF as Nikon calls it, it works pretty well. Now I'm only using f-mount lenses for now, and I do notice from time to time it's a little laggy and sometimes struggles with, rack focusing on certain items. But overall, I haven't had too bad experience with it, but maybe it'll get better with firmware updates. One of the great features Nikon has added in the Nikon Z6 is the focus peaking. Now, I really do enjoy using this because when you want to use manual focus, it's so much easier to get your focus because you've got your peaking. And so if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's basically these little lines that go around a certain object or a certain part of that object that show it's in focus. So that's really, really exciting and really courteous of Nikon to add that in this camera. Now, one of my favorite things about this camera is its screen. It works really well in video mode, especially because, I can change my picture profiles relatively quickly. As I mentioned before, focus peaking, and it's just a really sharp screen. It makes everything look really clear and crisp. So if you're trying to, check focus or whatever you're doing, it helps in that area. Also, it's a touchscreen, so that makes it easier if you're doing like touch focus or anything like that. That's really great as well. So Nikon, good job on the screen. One of the best things about this Nikon camera is that it has full pixel readout 4K 30. It would be nice with the firmware update to see 4K 60, but as of right now, it only does the 30, so we deal with that. But it actually looks really nice. And with Nikon's new firmware update coming, this thing will actually be able to do ProRes RAW via the HDMI out. So look forward to that if you're looking to use this for any type of cinematography. Overall, I've enjoyed using the Nikon Z6 for photo and video. So if you're interested in picking up this camera, then definitely check out the link in the description below where you can pick that up at. Helps my channel out as well. Guys, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about the Z6 or you want to share about your experience with the Z6, please put that in the comments below. I hope you all have a great day. Bilingual out.